The stars around Commander Reese Calder looked calm, but his mind was not. He sat alone in the cockpit of Starling 7, a slim human scout ship drifting through the edge of deep space. The silence outside was total, an ocean of black and distant lights, but inside the ship hummed with quiet life. Reese had been exploring unknown space for months. He had seen dead planets, blue suns, and broken moons. He had flown through dust storms made of metal fragments, but nothing had prepared him for the strange emptiness he found today. There were no planets, no asteroids, no signals, just nothing. He checked the scanners again. Lumen, run a deep scan, there must be something out here. The ship's AI answered in her soft voice. Scanning, please wait. He waited, he tapped his fingers. He stared at the dark void stretching forever. Then Lumen spoke again, and her calm voice held a tone he had never heard from her before. Commander, I have detected something, but it does not follow normal rules. Reese leaned forward. Show me. A single point lit up on the star map, not a planet, not a star, not a ship, a signal, but the coordinates were impossible. Reese frowned. Lumen, why does it show from every direction at once? The signal appears to come from all points in space, Lumen answered. It has no location. No location, that makes no sense. There is more, Lumen added. The signal carries a message. Reese's heartbeat picked up. For months he had found nothing but silence. Could this be a lost ship, a distress call, another species? Play the message, he ordered. There was a click, then a hiss. Then a voice, deep and cold, whispered, you should not be here. Reese froze. The voice was not human, not digital, not machine. It sounded old, older than stars, and the power behind it made the cockpit lights dim for a moment. Reese swallowed. Lumen, analyze that. I cannot, the AI replied. The voice breaks all audio patterns. It is not created, not transmitted, not recorded. It simply exists. Reese felt his skin crawl. A message that exists. Yes, and it is repeating. The voice echoed again through the ship. You should not be here. Reese exhaled slowly. Maybe someone is trying to scare us away. Commander, Lumen said, the message contains energy signatures not found anywhere else in the galaxy. It is not a threat. It is a warning. Reese leaned back in his seat. He looked out through the front window at the starless dark ahead. A warning for what? That was when the ship shook gently at first, then harder. Beep, beep, beep. Lumen, what's happening? Space distortion detected, Lumen reported. Gravity is behaving unusually. Reese grabbed the controls. Where's it coming from? Every direction, Lumen said again, just like the signal. The alarm sounded louder. The ship vibrated. Space outside the window began to twist like someone pulling on invisible strings. Commander, Lumen said quietly, I believe we have reached the edge of infinity. Reese had heard the name before, a myth among explorers, a place where maps went blank, a place humans were never supposed to reach. He never believed it was real, but now space itself was bending like liquid. Stars stretched into long, thin lines. Time felt slower. The cockpit lights flickered and the voice spoke again. Turn back. Reese felt fear crawling up his spine, but there was something else inside him too, curiosity. Humans had a history of stepping into danger because they wanted answers, and Reese wanted answers. Lumen, he said, steadying himself, can you trace the signal? No, Lumen replied, but I can take us toward the center of the distortion. Do it. The engines powered up. The Starling 7 moved forward, slicing through the twisting dark. For 10 minutes, everything remained quiet, too quiet. Then the reading started to change. Commander, Lumen said, we are passing through a region with no physical laws, meaning space is not stable, distances are changing. Light is bending in impossible directions. Reese checked the screens. The same star appeared on 3 different monitors from 3 different angles. What in the... Then something new appeared, a flash, a shape, a small glimmer of metal and light far to the right side of the ship. Reese turned his head, his eyes widened. Floating beside him was another Starling 7, the same model, the same lights, the same paint marks, the same scratches on the hull. Lumen, is that a reflection? No, it is a physical object. Reese stared at it. Every detail was perfect. The ship was a twin, no, not a twin, a duplicate, but something was wrong. The duplicate ship drifted silently. No engine glow, no movement, no sound. Is there life on their ship? Reese asked. Lumen scanned. Negative, no life signs detected. Reese felt a cold wave wash over him. A silent ship, a perfect copy, floating in a place where space breaks. He turned the Starling 7 slowly toward the duplicate. When he got close enough, he saw the cockpit window, and inside the chair was empty. Who flew this ship? Reese whispered. Lumen answered with something even stranger. Commander, I detect that the ship is yours. What? It matches your serial number, your mission ID, even the scratches on the hull. Reese stared at the duplicate ship and felt his heart pound in his chest. Are you saying this is my ship? Yes, but I'm here. That is correct. Reese felt his breath shorten. He slowly reached for the docking controls. Lumen, prepare for boarding. Commander, I advise caution. The space around us is unstable. I didn't come all this way to turn back now, he said, voice firm. The two ships docked with a loud metallic click. The airlock cycled open. Reese held a small pulse pistol for comfort more than safety and stepped into the silent twin ship. The corridor lights flickered. Everything smelled like cold metal. The walls felt the same as his ship. The doors opened the same way. Every tool, every chair, every screen was where he remembered it. It was like someone photocopied his entire life. Reese walked slowly toward the cockpit. His boots echoed loudly in the quiet. He reached the cockpit door. It slid open with a soft hiss. And there it was again, the pilot's seat. Empty, cold, waiting. Reese stepped inside. He turned on the main screen. It flickered, glitched, then displayed a single line, return before collapse. Reese felt his throat tighten. Lumen, what does that mean? Lumen's voice crackled weakly through the communicator. The connection was unstable. Commander, that message is for you. Reese turned in the chair. This ship, it came from another universe, didn't it? Yes, Lumen answered. This is a parallel version of your own ship. It slipped through when you crossed into the distortion zone. So where is the other Reese, the pilot of this ship? There was silence. Then Lumen spoke, unknown. Reese left the cockpit quickly, his heart racing. The idea of another version of himself drifting somewhere in the dark or worse made him shiver. He returned to his own ship and undocked from the duplicate. The copy drifted behind him, slowly fading into the twisted darkness. Lumen, Reese said, what is causing this distortion? Lumen paused longer than usual before answering. The universe is infinite but not empty. It is layered with countless copies of itself. You are nearing a point where these layers touch. You mean parallel universes? Yes. And this warning, the voice is coming from there. No, Lumen said quietly. It is coming from something beyond them. Reese gripped the controls, his pulse quickened, his mind raced. Something beyond infinite universes, something watching him. He looked through the front window. Far ahead, space glowed with a faint blue curve like the edge of a giant sphere. The distortion grew brighter. The stars bent like soft wires, and the impossible voice whispered again, louder now, you should not be here. Reese felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was what every explorer dreamed of, a place humans were never meant to reach, a place where reality itself bent. He pushed the throttle forward. Lumen, take us deeper. Yes, Commander, but I must warn you, nothing past this point can be predicted. Good, Reese said, eyes locked on the glowing horizon. I want the truth. The ship accelerated, the distortion thickened like fog. Lights flashed in strange patterns, space folded into itself. Then just as Reese crossed the shining boundary, something massive moved in the darkness ahead. A shadow, a shape, a presence, bigger than a planet, older than a star. Watching him, Reese felt his chest tighten. Lumen, what is that? The AI scanned. Her voice came back, soft and trembling. Commander, we are not alone. Something is waiting for us. And the part ends here on the last note of fear, wonder, and the promise of something unimaginably powerful waiting beyond the edge. Commander Reese Calder sat silently in the cockpit of Starling 7, staring at the empty twin ship drifting behind him. It felt wrong, like he was looking at his own ghost. The strange distortion outside twisted the stars into strange shapes, and the silence felt heavier than before. Lumen, his AI, spoke softly. "Commander, the duplicate ship remains stable, but the space around us is changing faster. We cannot stay here for long." Reese nodded, though he barely heard her voice. His mind was deep inside the mystery. A second ship, his ship, from another universe. "Lumen," he whispered, "what happens if I keep going forward?" There was a long pause, too long for an AI that processed data in microseconds. Finally, Lumen answered, "Then we may find the truth behind the signal, or we may lose our connection to our universe forever." Reese leaned back. "Not very comforting." "No," Lumen agreed, "it is not." He tried to smile but could not. The pressure on his chest felt tight, the way it felt before big decisions that changed the course of history. He looked at the glowing blue curve far ahead. It pulsed like a heartbeat, as if the universe itself was breathing. He pushed the thoughts aside. There was still one thing he needed to understand. "Lumen, analyze all the data we got from the duplicate ship." "Already running analysis, stand by." Reese waited. The ship hummed softly. The distortion outside warped light into spirals and loops, almost hypnotic. Then Lumen spoke again, and her tone was different, confused, almost afraid. "Commander, I have found something." Reese sat up straight. "Tell me." "The duplicate ship's logs show the same mission you are on, same route, same objective, same timeline, but what? There is one file that does not exist in our ship. Open it." The screen flickered and a single line of text appeared, written in the same font the ship always used. But the message was eerie: "Do not cross the second veil." Reese frowned. "The second veil?" Lumen responded. "I do not know what it refers to. Could it be the distortion boundary ahead? Uncertain, however, there is something else." Reese looked at the screen again. A faint flicker pulsed in the corner. He tapped it. The file expanded and revealed a timestamp. The time was 12 hours ahead of the current time. "Lumen, this log is from the future." "It appears so." Reese felt a chill crawl down his spine. "The other me, the version from this ship across the same point I am approaching now," Lumen continued. "And something happened that forced him to send this warning." Reese whispered, "Then why didn't he survive?" "The ship had no pilot," Lumen said gently. He looked out the window at the empty twin ship. Was the other Reese lost between universes? Was he erased? Was he still alive somewhere? He forced these thoughts away. He needed more answers. "Lumen, bring up the rest of the logs." More files appeared, but they were corrupted. Lines of code glitched across the screen. Error symbols flashed red. "Can you fix them?" Reese asked. "No, the corruption is not damage. It is mixed data from multiple universes." "Meaning?" "The file exists in many versions at once. The ship is reading all versions together. The data cannot agree on one truth." Reese let out a long breath. "This is getting worse." "Commander," Lumen added, "the distortion may soon merge our ship with another version of itself. If that happens, our matter will overlap with another matter." "And we won't survive that," Reese finished. "Yes." He stared again at the blue curve in the distance. It seemed to pulse brighter, as if answering him. The message replayed in his mind: "You should not be here." Reese tightened his grip on the controls. Lumen, set a course away from the duplicate. "I want some distance." Course set. The engines glowed, and the Starling 7 drifted away from the silent twin, but something strange happened. As Reese increased the distance, the duplicate ship began to flicker, appearing closer, then farther, then close again like a glitch in reality. "Lumen?" Reese asked. "The ship is not moving," she replied. "Reality around it is changing." He squinted at the strange lights swirling around the twin. They were no longer spirals or distortions. They were cracks, like cracks in glass. The universe around the duplicate ship was breaking. Lumen, is space collapsing around it? Yes, that ship crossed too deeply into the distortion. It cannot hold its existence. Reese watched horrified as the cracks widened. Light leaked out of them, white light, bright and cold. Lumen, he said quietly, what's behind those cracks? I do not know, she answered. But the energy signature matches the infinite layer structure, the real core of the multiverse. Reese exhaled slowly. Then the twin ship vanished, swallowed by the cracks, gone as if it never existed. The cracks closed behind it, the universe sealed itself. Silence returned. Reese's hands trembled on the control. He took a deep breath. Lumen, he said, forcing calm, how long until the same thing happens to us? That depends, Lumen said. If we move closer to the distortion, collapse becomes more likely. If we move away, we may return to safety. And what do you recommend? There was a pause. I recommend we continue forward. Reese blinked. You what? You came here searching for truth, Lumen said, and the truth is not behind us, it is ahead. He stared at the glowing curve again. Something about it pulled him forward like a magnet to the soul. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Commander, Lumen continued, there is a pattern in the distortion, a path. It is narrow but stable. A path to what? To the origin of the signal. Reese swallowed hard. The voice, yes. He closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the message. You should not be here. Maybe he shouldn't, but humans were not made to stop at warnings. They were made to push limits. All right, he said, show me the path. A bright line appeared on the navigation screen, curved, twisting slightly like a thread of light. Follow it exactly, Lumen instructed. Any deviation may result in collapse. Reese took the controls. Let's go. The ship moved forward, the distortion grew thicker. Bright streaks of light ran across the windows. Gravity shifted inside the ship, pulling them left and right. The stars warped into strange shapes, but Reese held steady. Then something unexpected happened. As the ship approached the second boundary, the possible second veil from the log, a deep hum filled the cockpit. Everything vibrated, the lights flickered. Lumen, what's happening? We are reaching the veil. Something is trying to scan us. Scan us. Yes, something alive. Reese felt his pulse quicken. He tried to look for a source, but space ahead was empty except for the glowing curve. No ship, no creature, he muttered. The scan is not optical, Lumen said. It is scanning our existence, our timeline, our choices. What does that mean? It means it knows us, Commander, everything about us. Reese felt colder than space. He tightened his grip. Lumen, I think we're not alone anymore. I agree. The ship slowed automatically as they reached the threshold. The blue curve spread across the entire front view, rising like a massive wall made of light. It rippled gently like water touched by wind. Lumen, Reese whispered, is this the second veil? Yes, and the message from the other ship is clear. Do not cross, Reese whispered. Correct. Reese stared at the glowing wall. Beyond it something moved, a shadow, huge, slow. Watching, it made no sound. It had no shape he could understand. It was simply present like the mind of the universe. Reese's throat tightened. Lumen, is that a life form? Lumen scanned, her voice came back shaking. Commander, it is not a life form, it is a concept. A what? A being that exists outside physics, outside space, outside time. Reese felt the cold grip of fear. And it is aware of us, Lumen whispered. The shadow shifted, leaning closer. Cockpit lights dimmed. The air felt heavier. A deep voice older than stars echoed through the ship, not through speakers, not through sound, directly into Reese's mind. Why did you return? Reese froze, his heart pounded violently. Return, what did it mean? Reese forced his voice to work. I've never been here before. The shadow moved closer. The veil rippled violently. The voice spoke again. You have already crossed once. You crossed when you died. Reese's eyes widened. What? The shadow leaned in until it filled the entire window. The voice thundered. You do not belong in this universe. The veil cracked, a long, blinding crack of white light. Lumen screamed, Commander, hold on, the veil is breaking, and the ship was pulled forward violently, straight into the crack of the veil. Everything exploded into light. The cockpit vanished. Commander Reese Calder felt weightless. He was not floating. He was not falling. He simply existed inside a white, endless space. No walls, no floor, no sky, no stars, only silence. He tried to move his hands, but they did not move. He tried to speak, but his voice made no sound. He felt fear rising through him like cold water. "Lumen," he tried to say, though no air moved. Then a soft glow appeared beside him, forming slowly like mist turning into shape. A tiny orb of pale blue light floated next to him. "Commander, I am here," Lumen said, her voice echoing inside his mind. Reese felt relief, but only a little. "Where are we?" "I do not know exactly," Lumen replied. "But we are outside our universe. We were pulled through a fracture in the veil." Reese remembered the shadow, the massive presence, the final words it spoke. "You have already crossed once. You crossed when you died." He felt his heart tighten again at the memory. "Lumen," Reese whispered, "did I die?" "No," she answered softly, "not in this timeline." Then what did the voice mean? Before Lumen could answer, the empty white space trembled, the glow faded, a deep sound echoed across the emptiness like a giant inhaling. Then darkness poured through the white like ink spreading through water. Shapes formed, shadows thickened, a presence grew stronger. Lumen spoke urgently, "Commander, something is arriving." Reese felt his chest tighten. He braced himself, though he had no body here to brace. The darkness twisted and folded into a shape so massive it filled the entire horizon. It was not a creature, not a machine, not a person. It was an idea given form, a shape made of thoughts, memory, and time. Two giant glowing eyes opened in the darkness, white, endless, ancient. A voice boomed, shaking the space around them. "You have crossed the infinite layers." Reese forced himself to remain steady. "What are you?" The giant eyes stared at him, unblinking. "I am the guardian of infinity." The title hit Reese harder than a meteor strike. This was the thing he had sensed behind the veil, the presence watching him. Reese asked carefully, "Why did you pull us here?" The guardian's voice echoed like a storm inside Reese's mind. "To ask why you returned." Reese's breath froze. "I told you I've never been here." The guardian lowered itself closer. Massive cracks of energy ran across its shifting body, as if its form could barely exist inside this space. "There are many you," it said. "Infinite versions, infinite lives, infinite deaths." Reese felt a cold shock. "Parallel universes," the guardian continued. "One version of you reached the veil before. He saw what he should not see, and the multiverse erased him." Reese felt his heart tremble. "Erased? You mean killed?" The guardian replied, "I mean removed from reality." Reese felt sick. "Is that what happened to the other ship, the empty one?" "Yes," the guardian thundered, "and now you risk the same fate." Reese struggled to stay calm. "Then why bring me here? Why not erase me too?" The guardian's eyes narrowed, glowing brighter. "Because you are a paradox." Reese blinked. "What does that mean?" The guardian leaned in so close that Reese felt pressure on his very thoughts. "You are not supposed to exist in this position. You passed a point you should never reach, and yet you live." Reese felt a mix of fear and curiosity. "Why can I still exist? Why wasn't I erased?" The guardian paused, the entire void shook around it. For the first time its voice was not thunder, it was confusion. "I do not know." Something in its voice made Reese realize this being, ancient and powerful, was unsure, maybe even afraid. Reese found himself speaking. "Lumen, do you understand what he means?" The small orb of light floated closer. "Commander, if you survived something that should have erased you then," she hesitated. "You might be a fracture in reality." "A fracture?" Reese whispered. "Yes, something special, something unexpected, something the universe cannot predict." The guardian's eyes flashed. "This makes you dangerous." The white void cracked, dark waves rippled out. The guardian continued, "Your existence creates distortions. You threaten the balance of infinity." Reese felt anger rising. "So what? You're going to destroy me." The guardian moved closer, its shadow falling across Reese and Lumen. "If you die, the multiverse stabilizes." Reese clenched his fists, but he still couldn't move physically. But if I die, Reese said slowly, then the truth dies with me. Lumen added, and the warning dies too. The Guardian seemed to consider this. For a moment the void was silent, then space rippled again. A different shape appeared far behind Reese, a swirling tornado of dark blue energy twisting like a storm. "What is that?" Reese whispered. Lumen scanned it. "Commander, that is a collapse vortex." "A what?" "A point where infinite universes meet and collapse. If we fall inside, we will be erased permanently. No version of us will exist anywhere." Reese stared at the vortex. It was pulling them in very slowly, like a distant tide. "Guardian," Reese said, "why are you showing me all this?" The Guardian's giant form shifted. "Because you must make a choice." The void dimmed. The white light faded. Only the Guardian's eyes glowed. "You can let the multiverse erase you." Its voice rumbled like thunder. "Or you can continue and learn a truth you may not survive." Reese felt a chill run through him. "What truth?" The Guardian lifted one enormous hand, its shadow stretched across entire infinity. "The truth of what lies outside everything." Reese whispered, "Outside everything?" "Yes." Lumen's voice trembled. "Commander, that may refer to the root universe, the source reality." Reese looked at the Guardian, "And if I choose to continue," the Guardian answered, "then you must face what destroyed the other version of you." The void cracked again. The vortex behind them grew louder. Lumen began drifting toward it. "Commander," she cried, "something is pulling me." Reese reached out instinctively, and this time his hand moved. He grabbed Lumen's glowing orb and held her tight. The Guardian watched silently. Reese said, "I'm not giving up, not now, not when something huge is hiding behind all this." "Do you wish the truth?" the Guardian asked. Reese took a breath. "Yes." The Guardian's eyes glowed brighter. "Then I will open the path." It raised its hand. The void cracked open like fragile glass, revealing a corridor of swirling cosmic colors, red, green, violet, gold, twisting into infinity. Lumen's voice shook. "Commander, this path is not stable. Once we enter, we may not return." The Guardian added, "If you walk this road, you walk beyond humanity." Reese felt fear, but he also felt something stronger, purpose. "I'm ready." The Guardian stepped aside. The cosmic corridor glowed brighter, pulling Reese and Lumen toward it. "Enter," the Guardian said. Reese took one step, and a sudden black shape burst through the corridor, rushing straight toward him. A giant claw of pure shadow. Lumen screamed, "Commander, it's the thing that erased the other you." The claw struck Reese square in the chest. The space around him shattered like glass, and he fell screaming into the darkness. Continue next part more unique. 1,400 words har part me third person style simple English har part ka end cliffhanger ho. Commander Reese Calder stood frozen inside the glowing crystal chamber, staring at the tall humanoid figure wrapped in dark energy. The figure's steps were slow but deliberate, like someone visiting a room they had seen many times before. Lumen hovered beside Reese, her light flickering like a nervous heartbeat. "Commander," she whispered, "this presence is beyond anything in my database." Reese swallowed hard. "I know." The Guardian of Infinity knelt at the far side of the chamber. Its massive, glowing body flickered like a dying flame. Cracks ran across its form, leaking streams of white light. The dark figure turned slightly, looking at the Guardian with cold amusement. "So even the Guardian bows," the figure said softly. "It seems the balance has finally broken." The Guardian forced itself upright. Its voice trembled. "Root being, you should not be here." The dark figure smiled. "And yet, here I am." Reese felt a deep pressure behind his eyes, like the air was too heavy to breathe. He took a small step back, whispering to Lumen, "What is a root being?" Lumen scanned rapidly. "Commander, a root being is not from any universe, not from any timeline. It belongs to the origin layer, the first spark that created all realities." Reese's eyes widened. "You mean like the source of existence?" "Yes," Lumen said quietly. "A being beyond infinity." The dark figure finally turned to Reese fully. "You have traveled far, Commander, farther than any human should have." Reese clenched his fists. Who are you? The figure took one more step forward, now only a few meters away. His face was half-formed, shifting like smoke trying to become flesh. When he spoke, the chamber lights dimmed. I am the origin, the first thought, the first energy, the first possibility. The Guardian pushed itself upright again, voice booming weakly. You must not speak to him. The dark figure ignored the Guardian and continued speaking directly to Reese. I was here before the others, before universes, before time, before you. Reese felt the reality anchor in his pocket vibrating, reacting to the being's presence. The figure extended a hand, long, dark, shifting like shadow made alive. And I am the reason you exist. Reese felt as if something grabbed his spine. What do you mean? He asked. The figure's voice softened. You think you are human, you think you are flesh, you think you are a product of your world. The shadows around the figure swirled. But you, Reese Calder, were created as a loophole. Reese stepped back. A loophole. The Guardian's voice boomed. Do not listen, this is how paradoxes begin. But the figure raised one hand, silencing the Guardian instantly. The ancient cosmic being froze like a statue. Reese's heart pounded. What loophole? He demanded. The figure moved closer slowly. The multiverse once created infinite possibilities, but something was missing, something unpredictable, something free. The shadowy being smiled for the first time, so I wrote you into existence. Reese felt the air collapse around him. Lumen's voice shook. Commander, step away. This entity may be manipulating you. But the figure continued. I placed you into one universe, then into another, then another. A million versions of you, a billion, all slightly different. Reese's hands trembled. You created me. No, the being whispered. I created the idea of you. Reese felt a deep cold ripple across his bones. The Guardian finally unfroze, raising its head slowly. He is corrupted, he seeks control of all possibilities. The figure's eyes flashed with annoyance and the Guardian collapsed to the floor again. Reese looked between the two ancient beings. Why me? He asked. Why create me? The figure stepped closer. Because the universe needed a question mark. Reese frowned. A what? A variable, a mistake, a paradox, something that cannot be predicted, something that cannot be erased. Reese shook his head, but the other version of me was erased. Yes, the figure said gently, because he made a different choice, a predictable choice. The universe allowed his removal. Then he pointed at Reese. But you are not predictable. Lumen flickered brighter. Commander, this explains why you survived the veil. Reese whispered, I wasn't supposed to survive. No, the figure said, yet here you are. The being lowered its voice to a soft, dark whisper that seemed to wrap around Reese's mind. And now I need you to break something for me. Reese's breath caught. Break what? The figure stepped aside and pointed to the far wall. A large crystal door pulsed with bright golden symbols. Ancient patterns slowly shifted across its surface. Lumen gasped. Commander, that door leads to the root layer, the first universe. The Guardian, half-conscious on the floor, whispered, No, Reese, do not open that door. IT will end everything. The dark figure's eyes glowed sharper. This door was created to keep me out, to keep me from shaping all universes freely. The figure leaned closer to Reese. You are the only paradox strong enough to open it. Reese shook his head. I'm not opening anything until I know what's behind it. The figure's voice dropped, low and dangerous. Behind it lies the truth of existence. Lumen trembled. Commander, if this being gains access to the root layer, it can rewrite everything. The Guardian forced itself up, screaming, if he enters, all realities will become one. All freedom will end. The figure turned and glared, and cracks shot through the floor under the Guardian. Then the being faced Reese again. You have two choices. He held up one hand, glowing with infinite power. Open the door and stand beside me as the new shaper of realities. Then he raised the other hand, a swirl of darkness. Or side with the Guardian and preserve the old order. Reese stood in total silence. His heart pounded, his mind raced. Every universe trembled around him. Lumen whispered urgently, Commander, Please decide carefully. The future of all realities depends on this. Reese opened his mouth, but the chamber walls suddenly shook violently. The ceiling cracked. Crystal fell like raining shards. A deep roar echoed outside the chamber. The figure turned sharply. No, not now. Lumen scanned quickly. Commander, another presence is entering the chamber, something powerful. The Guardian lifted its head. The universe has felt the paradox, the shadows outside deeper. Reese whispered, "What is it?" The Guardian answered, "The multiverse has sent a second Guardian." Lumen gasped, "A second Guardian, but the first one is dying." Reese's eyes widened as a massive shape entered the chamber, glowing white, brighter than any star. Its form was even larger, even older, even more powerful than the first Guardian. The floor shook under its weight, the root being hissed in anger. "So the universe challenges me again." The new Guardian's voice boomed like creation itself. The paradox must choose, now. Light clashed with darkness, thunder roared. Reese stood between both ancient beings, one wanting him to break reality, the other wanting him to preserve it, both staring at him, both waiting. Lumen whispered, "Commander, what do we do?" Reese took a slow breath and stepped forward toward one of the beings. Before he could speak, the entire chamber shattered into blinding white light.